Okay, here we go. We're going to be looking at day 6. For those of you that are joining us, I know there's a bunch of you out there now. Thanks for joining us. There's nothing worse than going to Israel and not knowing what you're seeing. Because you're going to see a lot of stuff. If you don't know what you're seeing, you can miss out so much. So I'm glad you joined us. And this is day 6 today. We're going to be looking at the Sea of Galilee and our trip around the Sea of Galilee. This will be Tuesday, June 14th. And it'll be all around the sea. As we talked about in our last time, we are staying at the kibbutz over here on the east side of the Sea of Galilee. So here's the Sea of Galilee. Here's the Sea of Galilee right here. Now as we look at the Sea of Galilee, it goes by a lot of different names. And as you go through the Bible, you see all these different names. It's all the same place. It's interesting, they call it the Sea of Galilee. It's actually a freshwater lake. So it's not a sea at all, but it's just picked up that name. It goes by another name, the Sea of Kinneret. Kinneret is from the Hebrew word kinnor, which is a harp. And they say it looks like a standing harp. So sometimes they call it the Sea of the Harp, or the Sea of Kinneret. Or they'll call it Lake Tiberias, because of the city that's been here since the days of Jesus, Tiberias. So they call it the Lake Tiberias. They call it the Lake of Gennesaret. This plain over here is called the Gennesaret Plain. So we'll say it's the Lake of the Gennesaret Plain. Or the Lake of Kinnesar, another area up here in the Galilee. Or the Sea of Chinneroth, again, another area up here. So different areas around the sea. We typically, as Christians in America, refer to as the Sea of Galilee. It's not a sea. It's 13 miles from top to bottom, north to south, 13 miles. It's 8 miles across its widest point, from here to here, 8 miles. It's 33 miles if you walk all the way around it. It's a 33-mile walk. So you kind of get a shot at the size of the Sea of Galilee. Circumference, 33 miles. It's very low. When you look at it, it's below sea level, almost 600 meters below sea level. It's the second lowest lake on the planet. So it's a very low lake below sea level. It is the lowest freshwater lake on the planet. The only lake that is lower is the Dead Sea. And that has been the way it's been for years, until the last 5 or 8 years, whatever it is now, they've discovered a lake in Antarctica. Frozen over. They don't know the depth of it, but some are saying it might be even lower than the Dead Sea, but they're not sure. Wow. So until they know for sure, I'm still saying the lowest and the second lowest lakes on the planet, Dead Sea, Sea of Galilee. So this is the Sea of Galilee. It is fed by underground springs, but the main source is the Jordan River. Coming on into the Sea of Galilee, freshwater lake, Jordan River leaves and goes on down to the Dead Sea, the Sea of Galilee. So we kind of have what we're going to be looking at, where we're going to be staying, the Sea of Galilee. Now, as we go on this day 6, it is, on June 14th, we're going to be spending the entire day around the places where Jesus spent most of his time in ministry. So it's kind of a pretty exciting, stinking exciting day. We get up, and one of the first things we do is we're going to drive around the southern part of the Sea of Galilee. And we're going to come all the way up to this side of the Sea of Galilee. And there's going to be, over in this area here, a museum. And we're going to go in there and find something and look at a film and to see something they call the Jesus boat. And it's an interesting thing. There was a drought back in the 80s, I believe it was. And during the drought, the sea level went way down. And as the level of the sea went down, all of a sudden, for the first time in years, they actually got way into the Sea of Galilee because the water level was so low. And as that happened, they saw some ruins of something sticking up, and they went and saw this boat that had been buried in the sands of this freshwater lake. And they got the archaeologists out there and got it out quickly and did all these different testings on it, and that determined it was about 2,000 years old. Well, that was very exciting for the folks. They said, we're not saying Jesus was in this boat, but we see the size and the type of boats that were on the sea in Jesus' day. So they just call it the Jesus boat. It's interesting, there was a very aggressive, very active fishing industry in Jesus' day on the Sea of Galilee. Josephus said there usually is around 230 active fishing boats on the sea on any given day in his time. So a lot of boats on the sea. Well, they found one of those boats, it appears. So they built this museum around it, and you can see the ruins of the boat in a little video we watched showing how they found it, what they did to reconstruct it and all. But then what they did is they got the dimensions of the boat, the style of the boat, and they made boats that looked like that. And then we get to go on a boat, so we get an idea, oh, this is kind of the size of the boat, this is kind of what it looked like. We get on the boat, and we go out onto the Sea of Galilee, on a boat that was very similar to the boat that would have been on the sea in Jesus' day. Probably not the boat he was on, he was probably on a smaller one, but he would have seen boats like this, so it's kind of a cool experience. We talked about those moments that many people have on these trips, where all of a sudden, Monica, you had a moment today in church where you were visiting another church, and they were teaching on something you had learned in New Testament survey. And all of a sudden, they were teaching on, was it the Olivet Discourse, did you say?
Yeah, that, and then the Thessalonians.
The rapture.
Yeah.
The rapture. So, and you were ahead of it.
Yeah.
You knew Arpazo, you knew, what was it else? Raptura.
Yeah.
And you knew it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people get those kind of moments on this trip. When you are here, and you go, wait, I remember that. We studied this here, we studied that here. And then it comes together, and when you're actually there, you might have one of those moments. Connie had her moment on the Sea of Galilee, on the boat. Different people have moments at different times. When I see you having a moment, I just walk away from you, let you have your moment, because it's pretty cool. It's a fun moment.
Several moments.
I'm sorry? You have several moments, but there's usually one moment that is like through the roof. And if you haven't, don't get it, you should get it, you'll have it. It's just a matter of preparing and being open to the Lord. She had hers on the Sea of Galilee. It was an amazing thing. People have them in different places, but it's awesome. When it comes to reality, this is really it. People will cry. People will get, like you were this is really good. You know, sometimes just get so excited they can't stand it. Others get emotional. It's like, this is amazing. This is all my life I've waited for this moment. This is it. It's just pretty sweet.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so glad I took that class.
Yeah, no, I know stuff.
You could just, like I said, and brings it more alive, more to life.
It does. It does. Good for you. Good for you. That just thrills my heart. Thanks for sharing that. So, the Sea of Galilee. We'll go out on a boat. After we go to this museum, we go right from the museum onto the boat. We go out in the Sea of Galilee. They take a net. And you can see how they used to fish back there. They'll throw a net out on the water and they'll bring it in. You don't fish during the day, so you're not going to get any fish. You might get a few minnows, but nothing serious. But at least we see how they did it with the weights around the net, how they drew it in and all. Oftentimes we'll do a little bit of worship out on the boats. There's a little bit of worship out there. So it's a little worship and you're just looking around. And what's cool is we go out we leave from about here, we go out like this, and usually we just kind of turn around and come back into Tiberias. So it's kind of a loop out this way. But what's cool is we get out here, they shut the motor off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And you look, and you realize this plateau up here, Jesus saw that plateau looking just like that. You look over here, and there's the hills where the Sermon on the Mount took place, and going up into the north, and that hasn't changed. Look at the hills of Hatim that go to Nazareth, that hasn't changed. So you realize, I am seeing what Jesus saw when he was here. It's been here for 2,000 years, and I cannot, if you grasp it, I can't describe it to you. If you get it, it literally changes your life. It's the most amazing, amazing thing. Gary had just come back from the Colosseum, so you know what I'm talking about. Connie and I were in the Colosseum last year. And when you realize what took place in that Colosseum, how they actually flooded the Colosseum and reenacted the naval battles that the Roman soldiers would go through, they'd come and reenact them in the Colosseum in Rome. The very same Colosseum where they'd have the animals underneath in these little sections and starve them there. They bring the Christians onto the floor of the Colosseum and release the wild animals and persecute the Christians in the Colosseum. And to be there and realize this is the place where people, rather than say, well, no, I'm not into Jesus that much, says, you can kill me, I will not deny Jesus. It's a special moment. You experience it. It's like, whoa, it's awesome. You get a lot of those moments in Israel. So be prepared. It's sweet. Bring a journal. Take notes. Write diaries. Because the thoughts, the emotions, the feelings you have, can't even begin to describe it. Can't even begin. It's sweet. So we go out on the boat, have a little bit of worship. We have that quiet time out there. They get the fishing demonstration. Then they start putting music on. And you're going to have a lot of Israeli music playing. We come back. It's a really sweet time. We come on back, and by then it's already noon. So we start at 7 in the morning. By the time we get over to the Jesus boat, get through the museum, see it, look at the film, get on this boat, go out here, come back. We come back here, it's about 11:40 or so. We land in Tiberias, and then we walk a couple blocks. We go to this seaside restaurant, and they have the fresh caught fish from here. And we have a fish dinner here. It's really fun. And it's French fries, typically. French fries, the fish, the salad, soda. Sit there and just go, okay, this is cool. And there we are. So that's the morning of day 6. It's just a fun morning. In the afternoon, we hop on the bus. We're going to head up. Usually we go to Capernaum next. Now Capernaum, remember, is the center of the ministry of Jesus. When he was rejected in Nazareth in the Gospels, then the Gospel writers bring us right into Capernaum. And he sets up for 3 years. This is his headquarters. Capernaum is an interesting place today. It's ruins. There's nothing there other than we walk in and you'll see just ruins of a synagogue. They've got this big structure built over some ruins. This is where Peter's mother-in-law was. They call it Peter's house, but who knows? But it's a house. It's cool. But the synagogue we know is a synagogue. There's no doubt about that. And we see it laid out, and they restructured some of it. It's an interesting place. They have a huge millstone. They have a lot of ruins outside the synagogue, so you can see what a millstone looks like and how it worked. And we stopped there. We have a little study there in Capernaum. It's pretty interesting. We'll let you know that morning when we leave, or that night before we leave. But in Capernaum, it's run by a very Orthodox priest in his religious outfit there. So we have to pay to get in, but that's covered in the price, of course. But the women have to have your shoulders covered that day. And you have to have your legs covered that day. That's his rule. You want to come to Capernaum, this is the rules. So you just want to make certain you have something you wrap around your legs, and you wear some kind of, it's going to be hot, it'll be like 88, 90 degrees. But you just make sure your shoulders are covered, your legs are covered. We'll let you know the night before that. We'll talk about that as we go. I'm sorry?
Your feet didn't need to be covered as well? Like
You wear sandals. You wear sandals. You wear sandals. Sandals are okay. So we get to Capernaum, and it's an interesting feeling when we walk the floors of those ruins, knowing that synagogue is 2,000 years old, those ruins. And we know that Jesus was there, and that was the main synagogue. And the location of it is right, like, if we could blow this up, the synagogue entrance is here. You walk in the synagogue this way. You walk right across the street, basically, and there's a Sea of Galilee. So now all of a sudden we start reading about Jesus in Capernaum. Man, this is a seaside lake town here. This is kind of cool. And you get a feel for it a whole different way. So we'll look at that. Sometimes we go down, I don't think we did it last time. Sometimes we go down to the lake and we do a Luke 5 study where Jesus gets in a boat and pushes out, and that gives a message in that, and we go down there and kind of have a message there. As we go around the sea, we hit Capernaum. We'll typically point out Bethsaida region. They're not 100% certain they found Bethsaida yet. This is Peter's hometown. And so it's just nice to know that's where Bethsaida is. They're still trying to find it for sure. But look at these ruins we're going to go to that day. Capernaum will point out Bethsaida, and then we're going to go up to Chorazin. So these 3 cities were very active cities. Capernaum was the most active of all of them. Capernaum was on the Route 66 of Jesus' day. So the main road, it went from Mesopotamia, from Mesopotamia, right through Capernaum, and then it would travel on down through Israel over to Egypt. So it connected Mesopotamia and Egypt. Hence, the road coming through this major city here was a place for tax collectors. This is where Matthew was when Jesus called him and one of his disciples. So we'll be there in Capernaum. As we hit these 3 towns are all ruins. Ruins, ruins, and ruins. After we go to Capernaum, we point out Bethsaida, we go to Chorazin. Chorazin is one of my favorite ruins of all the places we go to in the Galilee. Chorazin has got a lot of things. You'll see kind of how the cities were built back in Jesus' day as far as their core construction. Because you're going to see it's a basalt, a black, very porous rock was used to build from the volcanic material. And the city has completely been destroyed. There's nothing there. They rebuilt a couple of the homes. And you can see the structure, how the homes were built, how big they are, and how they were made. And it's just so very interesting, because as you walk in, if we're looking down at the room, there'd be one door right here in the corner, and looking down, there would be a wall right here, looking down at it, and another wall right here. And looking down, that's all you would see, these 2 walls and this door here. That's what you would see. If we were looking at it from the way we went into the there we are going through this door looking at it from the side view. If we would then go into that door, as we got into that door, it would look like, now this opening is behind us. What we would see as we looked into it would be something like this, or sometimes you'll find them looking like this. Arches, and these are all these black stone forming this wall here. So as you went in to the homes, all black, you'd see that wall, the arch, and then if you went through that arch, you'd see the same thing here. And that was how the home was made. It was a flat roof, it wasn't a pitched roof. If we look down on the roof now again, they had shingles that they laid across from the support wall, the outer wall, to this wall. And they laid the shingles across here. And that's how the roof was protected, or the building was protected. So on the way in, you'll see these shingles, piles of them laying around. And I'll have a couple of guys go lift a shingle for us. And the shingle's solid rock, and it's heavy as all get out. It's heavy, they're big. They're this long, they're this big, they're big. It usually takes 4 men to lift it up, just to their waist. It's heavy, 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 heavy. And some of us older guys want to do it, and I don't let them because it'll ruin your trip. So we let the young guys lift it because they won't hurt their back. Gary and I try it, we're done for the rest of the trip. Not gonna happen. So, but they're big. The point being, when we read in Mark chapter 2, when Jesus was teaching in a house along the Sea of Galilee, Capernaum, this is the structure of the houses were like. And they got everybody into these rooms. They were in this room. There's no more room. They said, we got to get this guy to Jesus. They go up on the roof, and they break through the roof. So as they slide the shingle up, it's a lot of work. Point being, sometimes it takes a lot of work to bring someone to Christ. And oftentimes it's a group effort. They can't get there themselves, so we've got to do it. So it's an interesting picture, so we look at that, and it's something I can try and show you here, but once you see it, it's like, got it. Oh, it's a big old shingle. And that's up in Chorazin. So I try and encourage us to take what we see in Chorazin. We spend a little bit more time in Chorazin, but take that and put that in your mind back into Capernaum. And this is the type of structure that was going on in Capernaum when Jesus spent 3 years as his headquarters. These are the kind of homes they had. So it's just something we don't usually see or think of, but when you see, go, okay, there it is. That's what it is. What's amazing to me, and this is what I want us to I'm just going to read it real quick here. Matthew chapter 11. I want to just read Matthew 11. We'll be reading it definitely in Israel, but Matthew chapter 11, it says this. It's kind of crazy. Matthew 11, verse 20. Jesus is doing his ministry up in the Galilee, and he says, it says there, Matthew records, he says, then he began to rebuke the cities in which most of his mighty works had been done, because these cities did not repent. And he says, woe, speaking of judgment, woe to you, Chorazin. Woe to you, Bethsaida. For if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I say to you, it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon, 2 cities up the coastline of the Mediterranean Sea there, non-Israeli cities, modern-day Lebanon now. He says, but I say to you, it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon in the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, there's the third one, you who are exalted to heaven will be brought down to Hades. For if the mighty works were done in you, which were done in you, had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. But I say to you that it should be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for you. Brought up to the heavens, they had them silent there for 3 years. They didn't follow him. So he pronounces a cursing on 3 cities. There were actually 9 total cities around the Sea of Galilee. Jesus picks these 3 and places a curse on them. We come back 2,000 years later. We have lunch in Tiberias, because it was there in Jesus' day, it's still there. We look at Magdala, the home of Mary, not the mother of God, the mother of Jesus, but Magdalene, Mary of Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, that city's still there. Jesus says, woe to you, Bethsaida, woe to you, Chorazin, woe to you, Capernaum. We come back 2,000 years later, and all there is ruins, ruins, and they think they might have found Helen. So, I mean, he prophesied already. That in and of itself should be evidence of the deity of Jesus right there. He's going to pick 3 of 9 cities. He's going to pick the 3 that are completely gone and pronounce judgment on when they're gone. That's like amazing. So we'll be looking at that on this day 6. So once we get to Capernaum, we point out Bethsaida, we spend time in Chorazin, we come up to a place called what is the traditional site of the Sermon on the Mount, and it makes good sense that this is it. When we're there and we look, it's pretty good. Now, unfortunately, our last trip, I was so disappointed, because for years there used to be this beautiful little hill that we could sit on and overlook the Sea of Galilee. We read Matthews 5, 6, and 7. It's just beautiful. Remember, I had you guys wait, and I went with the tour guide to try and find it, and they've completely remodeled all that, and they put a building on there, and it's shut down. You can't be there. It's like, oh. So for years, that's been the spot. So we're going to try and find another spot again. We keep trying. We can get some kind of a view. But it's a beautiful spot, and you get a feel for what the people saw as Jesus stood and spoke to the multitudes on what we call the Sermon on the Mount, traditional place here. Then as we continue on, we'll either go this way, we make that decision. One of the key things we hold on to here, you know it from the lit class, we use the saying, blessed are the flexible, for they're not easily broken. We have an itinerary, but it all depends on what other tourists are doing, what's going on in the area, determines which way we're going to go. Usually we come this way, we come back through Tiberias, we come around down to this place down here. And right here where the Jordan River just leaves the Sea of Galilee, they put in a bunch of money that the Israeli government did to make a really nice baptismal site so people could have a nice place to go get a baptism. And they put in, I don't know how much money, it's a lot. And it came up a little short, which I don't understand exactly how Israel comes up short, but of money, I don't understand. So I don't know if it was a short, or if they were just saying they want to help. But I do know that Pastor Chuck Smith of Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, about 20 years ago, put $1 million into it to finish that project up. So that's always been a special place for the Calvary Chapels, because it's like, oh cool, check it out. But everybody's free to go and gets to go. There is a cost to go get baptized in the Jordan, but that again is included in your price. If you don't get baptized, you still get to pay for it anyway. So that's just what it is. But when you go there, they typically want you to wear white robes to get baptized in, just as a way of modesty, because there's so many different religions there. So we go there, we have a little worship time, and then we get baptized in the Jordan River. And it's one of those things that if you've been baptized before, it's worth getting baptized in the Jordan River. Just, you're there. It's a good thing to enjoy it, the significance of it. After we have the baptism in the Jordan, we go back to the kibbutz, usually around 4 o'clock or so. And then at that point, we have off until around 6:30 or 7. And then dinner will be at 6:30 or 7. It's a great time to rest if you want to rest. It's a great time to go into the Sea of Galilee. There is a little beach there. And you can go into the sea and just enjoy being in the Sea of Galilee and just romping in the water. If you swim, go deep. If you don't swim, go waist high, or whatever it is, and have fun. And that'll be our day here on the Sea of Galilee. So that's going to be day 6. Then in day 7, it says this. It says, early in the morning, we're going to climb Mount Arbel. Now that was something you did not do last time. Mount Arbel is an amazing thing, and I added to the tour because when I had an opportunity to do it, it was one of the more amazing sights I've ever seen in all of Israel. Mount Nebo, the view of Israel from Mount Nebo in Jordan is unbelievable. It's what Moses saw when God showed Moses the promised lands. You can't go, but here's what it is. Because from Mount Nebo in Jordan, you can see Mount Hermon, you can see the Mediterranean Sea, you can see the Dead Sea, you can see in the valley where the Sea of Galilee is. You see all Israel from Jordan's side. It's pretty much breathtaking. Well, from here, it's Mount Arbel is over in this area here. But as we go up, over in this area here, as we go up into Mount Arbel, and we look down, we're high up. It's those high mountains on that part of the Sea of Galilee. We're up there, and we look down, and it looks just like the maps in your Bible. It's really weird. Because you see the Sea of Galilee, you see Magdala, you see Tiberias, you see the Sea of Galilee. It's one of those things that sticks in your mind, and it's forever changing me around Mount Arbel. We didn't do it last time, so I want to make sure we do that, because for me it was a big one. So in the morning we go up to Mount Arbel for a breathtaking view of the entire Sea of Galilee and the region surrounding it. It says next we continue to Sepphoris, but one of the things we like to do is, it might be before we go to Mount Arbel, is we're at this kibbutz. This last time we only went up to about here and kind of had a Bible study here, commemorating Mark chapter 5, where Jesus cast out the demons out of the demoniacs over in the lands of the Gadarenes. That's right here at Gergesa. So depending on how we can work this out, I'd like to be able to get up into Gergesa, the ruins of Gergesa, so you can see the actual caves where they would bury the dead, and you can see the plateau a whole lot better, where the pigs ran off and came out. It's the only plateau on the whole Sea of Galilee. So we go there, we read that, and it's pretty amazing, because you realize that this happened right here. By this time, you're familiar with the Sea of Galilee. You know that he came from Capernaum. You didn't know how the boat came across here. We got out here, this thing happened right here. And then from there, we go up to Mount Arbel, got this view of the Sea of Galilee. So that's what we'll be doing on the early morning of 7. Then, day 7, we leave the Sea of Galilee now, and we head down south. As we start heading down south, we're coming to a place called Sepphoris. Now, Sepphoris is a little bit different. We didn't do Sepphoris on our last trip as well. But Sepphoris is interesting because it's something they've discovered in the last 25 years, just outside the city of Nazareth. As they started to excavate, they said, wait a minute, this city is dating 2,000 years ago. It's over in this area in here. And they're going, it's like 5 to 7 miles north of Nazareth. And they've got all these ruins of a major city, big city. As they get into it, they realize that the ruins, it's a Roman city. Hence, it's not mentioned in the Old Testament, it's a Roman city. Much like Tiberias, a Roman city. But as they got into it, they saw it was a very wealthy city, a very big city. It appears to be the largest city of the Galilee. People didn't know it was there. Significance of it is, as they started doing research on Sepphoris, is they found that it was a military town. So the Roman legion stayed in the Galilee at Sepphoris. And that changes the look of Nazareth. Because now Nazareth is the city you go to. If you're stationed in Sepphoris as a Roman soldier, Nazareth is not the best reputation of the town. Hence Nathanael said, "You found Messiah where?" He says, "Who? Jesus of Nazareth." And he says, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" He's serious. When we go to Sepphoris, we're going to go into one of these beautiful palaces they've excavated. There's a beautiful mosaic on the floor. And as we look at it, we realize it's some wealthy person, and you're going to notice that the god Bacchus is in the mosaics. Very clear. Bacchus is the Roman god of wine and drink. We celebrate it with partying and a lot of booze and all that. That was typical of Sepphoris, it appears. Beautiful mosaics. We'll see a beautiful mosaic, but the key is it changes the way we look at Nazareth all of a sudden. Instead of Jesus being in this rural town, it appears to be a bedroom community of I say sailor town, that sounds kind of weird, but a soldier town or a party town or a Roman. What happens in, what happens in Sepphoris stays in Sepphoris town. Yeah. So it's just kind of a different view all of a sudden. So we're going to go take a look at Sepphoris so we can kind of stick that in our head and see what it is. It's interesting, a very old tradition points out the city is the birthplace of Mary. Who knows? Tradition, tradition, tradition. We're going to find the synagogue, the houses, and mosaics I talked about. We're going to hit all that. Then on the way down, we stop at a place called Sakni. Sakni is just a beautiful man-made place that has absolutely no biblical significance at all. It's just a rest. And as I mentioned before, we talked about blessed are the flexible. In a perfect world, we're going to drive right by it and not stop. We're going to go to Bet Shean first. And then we'll go back to Sakni, if the time allows. That's the goal. And you'll see why in a minute. But we're going to go to Bet Shean next. Bet Shean is an interesting place. It's one of the cities of the Decapolis, the 10 cities that are out on down in the southern part of Israel. But what's significant about Bet Shean is it is the most detailed excavated place in Israel. Now Israel excavates a lot of stuff. Bet Shean is the most detailed. God has been very good to me. He's allowed me to go to Corinth, to Philippi, to Thessaloniki, to Ephesus, to Athens, to Rome, to Cairo. He's blessed me up and down Jordan, all over Turkey, to Thyatira, to Pergamum. God just blessed me. Of all the sites that I've seen, the most amazing excavation site is Ephesus. Without a doubt, amazing. The second is Bet Shean. So Bet Shean is an extensive archaeological dig. And if you remember, it's crazy. And what we do on this, when we get down and walk it. So this is the one, now depending on how you're feeling, Miss Campbell, this is one where I would have you probably not walk it. But the nice thing about it is there's a great place to sip tea in the shade and you can see all of it. It's huge. So you sit and you see it all. And I can stay there and just explain stuff to you as we're looking at it, and it's pretty stinking awesome. I would not mind sitting there. I've seen Bet Shean a lot and it's really hot down there, but it's worth seeing. So it's something you want to see if possible. It's pretty amazing. But Bet Shean, you're going to see just so many amazing things of a Roman city. Everything from where they entertain, entertainment centers. You're going to see libraries. You're going to see the men's room. And it's crazy. We have a picture. It's really, because by this time we've gotten to know each other really well. So we all sit on the pots. We have pictures of us all sitting in a Roman bathroom. We're all sitting there taking pictures. Were you in that picture?
I don't know if I was in it, but I was sitting.
Okay. So I said, yeah. So it's just what it is. But it's interesting to see, wow, they had facilities that you could go inside, relieve yourself, talk to your neighbor as you're doing, without the dividers.
Yeah.
If they had water that would wash it all
Just a
down.
big room.
It's the craziest thing in the world. But you walk down their agora, their main street, and you'll see the pillars. They've set up the pillars, so you really feel like you're back in time when you're in that city. It's going to be hot and dusty. You're going to be sweating as much as you sweat on the trip up to this point. And the further south we go, the hotter it gets. But this is a hot one. We spend a lot of time at Bet Shean. It's very interesting. You're going to see stadium. So you get a chance to see how their stadiums were and their seating in the amphitheater and all this kind of stuff. It's just remarkable. It's remarkable. So we're going to look at Bet Shean quite a while. Then from Bet Shean, if we pass Saki, that's my goal. Then I'm going to drive, not that many miles, maybe 10 miles, 5 miles, whatever it is, to Sakni. And after Bet Shean, Sakni is the closest thing for me to Eden at that point because of the vast difference. God has allowed me to go to Hawaii a number of times. I've been to Kauai, to Maui, to Oahu. God has blessed me to travel. I prefer Sakni to anything in Hawaii. It is amazing. But I think it's because you come from Bet Shean. And Bet Shean is dry, dusty, and hot. And you get in the bus and that's remarkable. You're panting, and you're drinking water, and it is hot. And you get out to Sakni and you're thinking, well, it can't be anything too hot and nice. And you get there and you get a little picnic basket. And it's a man-made oasis. And it is fantastic. It's just waterfalls everywhere. And there's these big pools of water, everything's connected. And you can go stand in the waterfalls, you can go swim in the water. The water's crystal clean. And I think it must have a concrete bottom, as I can figure. I don't know, I think it does, because it is just amazing. It's like a man-made beautiful oasis. Grass everywhere, shade everywhere. You've got this great lunch. You've got all that you can drink, and now you get to go just jump in the water, sit in the shade, and watch people jump in the water. It's fantastic. And people always want to stay longer than we do. We stay for an hour, and it goes just like that. But you get back on the bus, and it's like... So day 7 is our transfer day, from the Galilee to Jerusalem. As we're going on down, or do we? Maybe we don't. Maybe no, we don't go. We're just going down and we're coming back up. That's my understanding. That's what we do. So then we do Sakni, and after Sakni, and Bet Shean and all, then we go back up to our room in the kibbutz, and the next day we're going to head down to Jerusalem. So our time in the Galilee, this is where Jesus did his ministry. This is the sweet time. This is that sweet contemplative time. And we're going to get it, because once we're up here for 3 or 4 or 5 days, it's so sweet. Your quiet times in the morning. This is the place for quiet times. This is the place for worship in the evenings. This is where after dinner, I don't know if we did it this time, we didn't have a worship leader with us, we usually have worship leaders. And we gather as the sun's going down by the Sea of Galilee, we just have an hour of worship, just do some worship, it's sweet. So we have the worship times, and you have, get in the morning, you have your quiet times, it's just quiet, contemplative times. Then as we head down the next day, we're gonna go down to Jerusalem, we'll cover that in our next class. As we go down to Jerusalem, we are hit suddenly with the hustle and bustle of city life. Quiet times, good luck. Good luck. It is go, 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 all the time, all the time. Horns honking, people yelling, people talking. You got stuff going on, even when you see goats and sheep, and you will in Jerusalem. I mean, the shepherds got them real close, driving through the cars, the mark whatever he's doing, but it's amazing. It's a modern day city, but it's a lot of noise. We get to see why Jesus, on the night that he was betrayed, after he had celebrated the Passover, he went out to the Garden of Gethsemane, outside the city, across the Kidron Valley, to a place where he could go. Because there were even more people in Jerusalem that night than there were going to be when we're there. Millions of people there, and all the noise and hustle and bustle. He goes to the Garden of Gethsemane. We'll talk about the significance of that as we go. So this will be our time around the Sea of Galilee. We've talked about coming in on their first day from the west coast, coming into the area, going up into the Golan, around the sea, and then down into the extra day. We're going to Sepphoris, and we're going to hit Bet Shean, and we're going to hit Sakni, and then we come back, and then get up early the next morning, and we drive down into Jericho, and into Jerusalem. Okay? Any questions on it? I think we're good. So wheat. So again, first, second, and last Sunday of the month is Israel One Month. We have a number of folks who I know are going on here. I know it's because there's a confusion that last Sunday of the month. Monica brought it up today. Is fourth or the last Sunday? How does this work? The last Sunday of the month. Sometimes it'll be the fourth, sometimes it'll be the fifth. We're going to do 3 in a row. The last Sunday, the first and the second, then we take a break. The last Sunday, the first and the second, then we take a break. So that's how it's going to work. Okay, so wheat. Glad you're here. See you bye. Guys, we look forward to meeting y'all. We'll just say bye. See you bye.
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 Shut us off, James.